Holy, there's a lot of people real quick. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm going to just give the announcement a minute or two, that way more people have the opportunity to funnel in before we start getting too deep into the discussion. How am I doing today? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as... I hope you're doing just as well, Balthazar. I hope everybody's doing well today. But for everybody just coming in, just another reminder, I'm going to give the ping notification another minute or two. Let people funnel in that want to be here for the event. That way we're not missing over any stuff potentially. Oh, this dog. Let me go throw a dog outside as well. Throw the dog outside and then we will get started. Alrighty. Just once again, welcome in everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. Dog Angie, doggo gone. It's just, she's a very, I call her the yapper. Her name is Jasper, but she is quite the yapper, so. She'll bark at quite literally anything. Very frontier announcement over your sleep schedule. No. Always take care of yourself first, always. So just for a heads up, if anybody does want to go back and review the entire discussion that we're having today, it is being recorded and it will be uploaded onto the channel. So if by chance you have to step away for 5-10 minutes, use the bathroom, or you're worried about, having to meet a deadline or something, just know that everything will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. That way everybody can go back and rewatch it at their own time. Gang, we're being recorded. I got you. You guys you're all locked in. You're all caught on camera. Caught in 4K. Absolute cinema. Music goes hard. I hope it's not too loud, because every time I have to relaunch the game, Godot likes to max out the volume inside the volume mixer, so I will have to potentially readjust it when I do go through and show more of our potential gameplay loops going forward. It's not loud, good as is. Alright, good. Alright, so 25 will be the volume level we stick with then. Move this over, that way I can read the chat just a little bit better. There we go. Randall's best music changed my mind. That's pretty hard to disagree with, especially now that we have our lovely music composer, Faceless. that made the Randall Remastered, which if any of you guys have not checked that out, I'm going to drop that right here for everybody to give it a listen to. Heard about Faceless about a year and a half ago. I heard the Randall Remaster, and boy oh boy did it bring me to tears. It's so beautiful. So super excited that we have them on the team, and there'll be much more amazing tracks like that coming in the future. Hi, Joe Cab. Glad you can make it in, buddy.
Hello.
Hello. Hope you're doing well today, friendo.
Yes. I had a PC failure earlier.
Oh no.
Yeah. My PC has been like hard freezing for this entire week. And it did it again, but like I would have to restart it completely, hard restart it. It did it again today, but it wouldn't. When I restarted it, it wouldn't display anything.
Oh boy.
So I reseated the RAM, reseated the GPU, reseated the CPU, changed the thermal paste.
Everything's good now, though.
Yeah, it boots now. I just have to see if it does it again.
Hopefully not.
No.
Why the bot calling you out? So every time you talk, Lewis,
you
gain XP that will contribute towards your Discord account. As you get to the level milestones, just like in Brave Frontier, you'll gain a star rarity. And as you collect more stars in the server, that'll increase your chance of potentially being allowed access into the alpha or betas that we put out for the community. So the more yapping, the better. And just for clarity, for anybody that is not aware of JoeCab, he is my advisor for the Recoded project. So anytime I have quite literally anything to do that I need just an extra set of eyes or brain for, pick knowledge, public response, anything of that, JoeCab is my right-hand man on that. So anything that ultimately does come from me is also being rehashed with him, just so that there's more understanding of JoeCab's role in the team. And speaking of which, we have JoeCab hosting his very own update coming out in June. Specifically, Update 25, Audio Adaptation. JoeCab, would you like to give everyone a little bit of a tease as to what this update's going to be entailing?
Well, absolutely. Well, for those of you who don't know, I advise Neil, but I'm also an audio engineer. Graduated in audio engineering. Ain't that crazy? And the first thing that I noticed when Neil started showing me like actual gameplay, recorded gameplay of the original Brave Frontier, and also when I was handing out like the sound effects and the music to make the update videos for, because I use those a lot. I use a lot of the sounds from the original game just to make the videos more interesting. A lot of those sounds had some flaws, and the music also had some flaws, because usually when game companies make video games in general, especially when it comes to mobile games, audio quality and standards are not necessarily a priority. The majority of audio design in video games is usually not a priority. So, and Brave Frontier unfortunately has not been exempt from that, and so that is pretty much what the next update is going to be talking about in general. The audio of Brave Frontier. Obviously, not changing it, but just fixing those little mistakes or errors, or like basically bringing it up to a standard of quality that is modern and acceptable.
Super exciting. And we do have some other things in the works as well, but can't share that right now because we cooked a little bit too hard, and we're extremely excited to see the community's response to it. So just know that audio is going to be the main focus of next update, but we still will also have some additional things coming out to make it even more of an exciting update for everyone. A feast, you say? I'd say it's a feast. I think Joe Cab cooked us up an entire buffet coming up, so...
Well, Neil did say, when I was about to make the update video, after making the update changes, I asked Neil, can I go full nerd mode on it, or can I just like, do I just like have to hold back? And he said, oh no, just go full nerd mode. So I'm going to go full nerd mode for the next update, and I can't wait to see everybody's reaction to it, because I made the video in a way that is understandable to the general public. That's not necessarily that somebody who doesn't have knowledge of audio and editing or engineering is going to be able to understand and hear the differences.
Welcome in, Hikaru. Hope you're doing well today. Alright, so I would like to try and have this event / discussion be in about an hour's, maybe at most an hour and a half worth of time. So without dragging our feet too long, is there any questions that the community has right now that you guys would like answered before we dive a little bit deeper into what is going to be coming up soon throughout the year? I think I did see one question asked previously. Let me scroll back up. Question for someone who... This is from Blazing Gore. Question for someone who had played Brave Frontier when it first released. Are y'all going to do the same thing they did, where it'll be way too easy to get max rarity stuff? Because I felt like it killed the game after we kept getting handed high star units. So, great question. This is something that we are going to look at and address almost immediately before Brave Frontier Recoded comes out. So I have multiple Google Sheets here that I can show the community. Everything is still in the process of being finalized and worked on, but to directly answer that question, we are going to have a new feature called Summoning Potential. And what that entails is that you will have to progress through the story and defeat the fallen gods of creation in order to progress your summoning power. So, a couple details, because this could potentially scare off some people or get players a little bit worried about, oh, well, does that mean I can't fully express my unit's power level in a way that is beneficial for me and my squad? So, to start, players will have to defeat Creator Maxwell to unlock 4-star summoning potential. So, going specifically on the summoning potential, this does not mean that you will not have the opportunity to acquire 4-star units, whether that's through a giveaway or an event of such, but you will not be able to go to the summon gates and directly summon a 4-star unit out of the entire roster of heroes that we're going to have. So, just as an easy example, Emperor Kira, the 5-star unit, you will first have to defeat Cardes the Malevolent before you have the opportunity of summoning Kira as one of your playable heroes. Now, this is both a good thing and an overall long-lasting effect for the player balance, because it was very prevalent as the years went on that getting 3, 4, or even 5-star heroes became very hard or very tedious, or just outright impossible due to the way the developers of the original Brave Frontier kind of forced players to have 6, 7 Omni-star potential heroes. So, where could this be a benefit from the player standpoint? So say if you wanted to kind of limit yourself to where you wanted to go 100%, have every single unit possible, you don't have to defeat Maxwell outright before collecting all the 3-star units. So you can limit the summon gates to where that unit pool is now much smaller, in turn making it easier for you to have the entire roster of that era at one point. Additionally, as we get into the later eras of the game, like 6-star, 7-star Omni, we'll have additional summon gates set up to where it'll be easier to acquire those heroes. So we'll have a summon gate that's purely dedicated to just 3-star units, one that's dedicated just to 4-star units, just to 5, and so on. So we really anticipate players that want to go for the 100% route or just having every unit possible, max stats, max evolution, every evolution type, it's going to be more than feasible, especially with the amount of gems that we're going to be providing to the community. So we're really excited to see where the overall metas come into play when it comes to the earlier stages of the game, but then also the overall response of having all the characters available from start to finish.
Been taking the questions, and if you want me to go in order.
Yeah, sure.
Alright, we have a question from Balthazar. Balthazar, how has development been going? Any roadblocks?
So development has been good so far. We've been steady, to say the least, which is, honestly more than I could be thankful for, to have a steady development and a good team behind us. Roadblocks that we've had faced at the start of the year was we unfortunately lost one of our lead coders, Valdrin. They had to step away from the project due to personal reasons. And while it was upsetting that we lost somebody in the coding department, we did, however, introduce 5 new coders to the team that also show great potential. So while we believe that there may have been a little bit of a bump in our overall development speed for the time being, we expect that within the next month or two that our development speed of just about everything going around, art, web development, game Godot development, everything will probably accelerate maybe 2-3 times the speed. Don't want to guarantee that because, of course, there's a lot of factors that go into play when making a game, but that's just my initial expectation since we have more hands on deck now. The only other roadblock I can see immediately coming to mind is we had one of our pixel artists unfortunately lose their drawing tablets devices, and some of the sprites that they were working on that were in the process of being finished were unfortunately lost, so those will sadly have to be recreated. But we still have the baselines for everything, so it would just be a matter of making those minor edits again to go along with the evolution line. And finally, for the localization side of things, our German team hasn't been as active or steady as I would like it to be. So there's the question of, do we drop German localization for the time being and just focus on our other languages like French, Spanish, Italian for the time being? Or just kind of put another ask out there for the community of, hey, if there's any German summoners that would be willing to come and participate on the localization team, would you be interested in joining and sending applications and stuff? So nothing directly like a massive wall stopping our developments, but just a couple little bumps along the way where it's like, okay, can we address this and when would be the best time to address it? But as far as us progressing towards the 1.0 stage, everything is going according to plan.
The next question is from Ras. How many units are you planning to have available on release? And how will you go about adding units in the Recoded?
So I want to talk about adding the units in the Recoded first, because I do have a sheet I can show everybody of our expected units for Alpha. I'll pop that up on screen right now just so everybody can kind of get an idea of who's going to be available. And I'll slowly scroll down, that way everybody can see a little bit easier. We'll do a big zoom in here. Oop, maybe a little bit too big. So we're going to have all the original units in the game, from the starters, the Bernies, a lot of the 3-4-star heroes that were first introduced into the game. How we go about introducing new heroes, however, will be a little bit varying depending on the unit itself. So some characters like Elimo, for example, that have mitigation properties, or Krantz, another well-known popular unit, that has 50% damage mitigation for 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turns. Units like that are the only ones we're currently putting off aside. We're saying maybe instead of them following the exact release pattern of the original game, those heroes specifically might get put aside and released a month or two later, or an update later, while we fine-tune the values and percentages to where it's not overly exceeding the damage numbers, but not underpowering it as well to where the character is just kind of useless in a sense. So that's really the only direct thing I can say as far as like how we're going to be releasing units. It'll still follow the original timeline, like the original game, just with the exception of mitigation units. They'll take just a little bit more time to get completely right. That way, we don't have what happened towards the end of the game's life cycle, where you had 100% mitigation on top of 50% mitigation on top of another 75% mitigation, and so on and so forth, right? So, going on with that, we're also going to be changing the damage reduction. Rather than it being an additive formula, it will now be multiplicative. So what this means is, rather than having a damage mitigation that stacks up 50, then another 50 equaling 100%, those two 50% would get multiplied, and then you would have something like, let's say, 67.5% damage reduction. So you'll be able to keep progressively building your squad's damage mitigation up to 100%, but it won't ever get to the point where you'll hit 100% unless it's a specific property, like you take 1 damage for 1 turn, stuff like that. So going back to why mitigation units are going to be on hold for a little bit, is that we want to ensure from the 3-4-star era having those values low enough but not high enough to where by the time we do get to 7 Omnistar potential, 95-100% isn't going to be something that's just readily available all by just 1 unit activating it.
I'm not seeing the chart at the moment. We're still seeing the gameplay at the moment.
Oh. I thought I had the... Oh, no, you were right. I thought I had it displaying the entire screen. My bad. Alright, so now going into what units are expected to be recoded. Currently, this is the list that we're using with our pixel artists to have it. So all the units that we anticipate on having for alpha release will have all their victory animations. That way, again, we can see what unit is done, what unit needs to be reviewed, or is reserved for other artists that want to do those characters specifically. But let me scroll down a little bit, because I believe we have about 300 expected.
I think you lagged
units.
out for a second.
Oh. So, I'll rehash. So,
Unless it's me.
the entire sheet that we have presented here for everyone is all of the units that are expected in the recoded alpha. So, of course, we're going to have the original starters. They'll all still be here. Then we're going to have Zegar, Zephu, Lario, Whis, Luna, and Mifune. Going down the list even further, we'll have the Bernie gang and squad. Bernie, Squirty, Mossy, Sparky, Glowy,
Yeah,
and
we can't hear you anymore, and you.
Really?
Your mic muted or something. I'm not sure what happened.
I'll say it's coming through from you on Discord.
Oh, well, it's just me then. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, okay, well, it started working again.
Alright. Funny Discord. Yes, if I'll take that as well. If anyone cannot hear, leave and rejoin. Silly Discord moment. Continuing down the list, we'll have Lisa, Merith, Claris, May, Mimir, and Lily, all the classic fodder healers that you'll find throughout doing the classic quest. Going even further down the line, more of our fodder units. Goblin, Merman, Mandragora, Harpy, Angel, and of course our beloved skeleton. Going even further down the list, Leon, Baraka, Zaza, Graffle. So we'll pretty much have all of the fodder units that you met throughout the entirety of the quest, whether that's in chapter 1 of the story or potentially even in Summoner's Arc, 3rd arc, where we'll have even more well-known, or slightly unknown units, rather. Let's see. I thought I had them on this list. Maybe in a different list. Let me see. Oh, honor summons. That's right. So we're gonna have all the other characters that are presented way later in the game much sooner. Characters like Angie, Bavel, BG, E750. Reason why we're going to introduce these characters much sooner than later is just to further diversify the squad potential and overall access to more units in the 2, 3, or 4-star era. So characters that you didn't see originally at the start of the game will now be present through Honor Summon. Black Rose Elise, Vilmera, Brangia, and a bunch more units. So if it's a 1, 2, or 3-star hero, chances are they're more than likely going to be a part of the alpha. But for specific characters, again, going back to Angie, she does have mitigation properties where I believe it's a 10% damage reduction. Let's double check. Oh, ads. Killing me. So for her Brave Burst, she has a 25% damage reduction for 1 turn. Somebody like Angie might get nerfed to where it's only a 5% damage reduction for 1 turn, considering she's a 3-star rarity hero. So we do want there to be, again, a much more diverse playing field when it comes to squad building and management. So it won't be strictly limited to what the original game was. By just off the honor summons alone, there will be 157 units that are acquirable. Some of those also being quest units like Lario, Lily, Claris, all those kind of characters. And just scroll back up, we'll go back in order as well. Have Orthos, Ramia, Fairy, Minotaur, Cyclops, which we already have the victory animations for those guys as well. Which you can see, where is he? Another one of our units that we do have victory animations complete for. Very excited to see them in game. Unicorn, Medusa, Salamander, Rantoul, Trent, Sylph, Priestess Maria, Lilin, another unit we have victory animations complete for that you guys can use stickers with. Very much love her victory animation. I think it is outright adorable. She's just taking a little nap after a hard-fought battle. Going more into some of the rare honor summons, Thunderbird will be returning, as well as Dryad, Undyne, Athena, Vampire. Going into our next batch. Did I miss somebody? Oh, Fire Drake. Missing the fire type. Next batch, we have Knight Agni, Knight Sergio, Princess Lilith, Sky Knight Falma, Cowboy Height, Sheeta, Phoenix, Leviathan, the Great Tree, Alnu, Behemoth will also be returning, Wyvern, Memetis, or if you've all done the Karma Dungeon, you more than well know this character a lot. Further down the list, we have Lava, Mega, Douglas, Emilia, Nightwill, and Alice. Going along with our evolution line of units, all of the nymphs will be returning, all of the spirits will be returning, all of the idols will be returning. Even more, we will have the fire totems. You will have all of the elemental ghost. You'll also have the jewel variants of the ghost. That way people can farm their money as quickly as possible. Metal Mimic and Mimics, of course, are going to be returning. And going a little bit further, now we're going to hit some evolution line units. So 3-star Lisa, 3-star Merith, 3-star Claris, May, Mimir, Lily. More evolution, we'll have all the fire pots, or all the elemental pots. Fire, water, earth, thunder, light, dark. Same thing with all the other previous evolution lines. Thief Leon, 4-star. Verica, 4-star. Graffle, 4-star. And Zaza, 4-star.
Zaza, bro.
We do have the name Zaza. I mean, he's kind of like you, Joe Kev. He's got the beard and the axe and everything.
Goddamn.
Lumber Kev, in the flesh.
For real. Me if my hair did the Super Saiyan thing.
So, some of the characters that we're potentially thinking of holding off for the time being are 5-star heroes, or more specifically 5-star evolutions. So, Beast King Zagar, Dragon Hero Zephu, General Whis, Bogod Lario, Empress Luna, and Rujin Mifune. We expect to have them available as playable characters, or, sorry, accessible as evolution line units, but we're going to try and primarily focus on 2, 3, and 4 stars for the time being, so they may be somewhere around the beta stage of the game, but we're still including them now just because they are part of the previous evolution lines. Now going into more specialty units, we will be having the return of the Miracle Totem as well at the very start of the game, so summoners can really try their power potential and seeing if they can take down not just the regular elemental totems, but the miracle ones as well. Our first story character returning is part of Trial 1, of course, being Carl. We expect him to be somewhere around the end of Alpha or the very beginning of Beta. Keymaster Gilnia, our mascot child. And then we have a new character that was long lost forgotten due to just the way Gumia Lim wanted to release the game. Fire Princess Lyn. This is a character that was supposed to be in all the original Brave Frontier games, but never got to see the light of day. We have their art, we have their sprites, we have everything ready to introduce this character back into the game. Oddly enough, she does not have any evolution lines either. So I would like to believe maybe she was just a unit that they were thinking about adding, but then just said, yeah, we'll add them at a later date, whether that's an event or something of that nature. But either way, another potential unit that we're excited to have back. And for anybody that is curious on reading up on this unit and what they are about, here's a link for that. Learn more about Fire Princess Lyn and their abilities. Going further on down the line, this may get some people very excited or a little bit worried regarding our development. We will be reintroducing the Spear Frog as well as the Imps into the game at the start. So you'll be able to start off your new journey having access to stat boost as well as 2 spheres. That means you'll be able to have a stat boosting sphere as well as a damage mitigation or a cleanse. Anything your heart desires. Going even a little bit further, and this is where I'm truly excited to see how far people can push their squad building and just the overall possibilities of these new meta changes with 3 and 4 star heroes. We will have the dungeons available to where you can fight the fire mecha gods. Or sorry, the elemental mecha gods. Fire, water, earth, thunder, light, and dark. We have, currently there is no direct expectation for players to be able to beat them. We just simply want to introduce them now, just so players have the potential of can I beat this character? Is it possible to beat this character under these new circumstances? And if so, what does it take in terms of squad potential to be able to allow that to happen? Going a little bit further, we have Almighty Imp Arton. We have a couple new characters as well that are recoded exclusive that we'll get back to in just a minute. Going further down the line, getting towards the end here, we have the bulbs returning. Fire, Water, Earth, Thunder, Light, and Dark bulb, as well as the Miracle bulb. We plan on doing some sort of variation with some of the evolution lines. That way, there's not the same 10, 20 units that have the exact same evolution requirements. So just make it a little bit more of a switch up, a little bit more unique per evolution line. And then some of our seasonal units. Pumburnky will be returning for Halloween exclusively. So that means as long as you're logged in anytime from October 1st through October 31st, there will be a dungeon available to where you can acquire Pumburnky, as well as any Bernie that is available throughout the game, whether that's quest, dungeon, vortex, any of the sorts, will have a 3% chance to spawn as a Pumburnky. Additionally, and this is all throughout the year, by the way, we'll have we'll have all these other options available. So again, if it's October, you'll have the availability to get a Pumburnky just through his dungeon, or the option of doing the game as you normally would through quest, and there might just be that 3% chance that, oh, this Bernie is now Pumburnky. Same thing with Frosty. As we get into December, there will be a short period of time where all Squirties in the map are now have a 3% chance to turn into a Frosty. And just finally, not expected to have much evolution potential, but still want to include it just for the abilities of, more varying evolution properties. Fire Tone, Water Tone, Earth Tone, Thunder Tone, Light Tone, and Dark Tone. The reason why I have these included for right now is because, again, we have some units that do have musical properties associated with their characters, but I'm also not 100% sure on the whole Hatsune Miku situation. It's been very, very requested if Hatsune Miku will be returning, and we're still not 100% sure on the legal status of that yet, but just in the event that we can reintroduce Miku, we'll already have all the evolution units for Miku and crew ready to go at the start. Now, diving back just a little bit, this is something that we're not entirely releasing yet. This will probably be something we share more details about going into 2026. But just like Pumburnky and Frosty, we have some new seasonal members coming to the Bernie Squirty Squad. The Slime Gang, we'll say. So, first, we're going to have a new unit that will be available all through March, named Shamrocky. Not going to release their art or anything just yet, but you can take a little bit of a guess. A Malsey, but instead they have a Shamrock on their head. This unit will have some luck properties, giving you increases in gold, item drop rate, karma, some other factors as well, and some unique abilities too that I'm really excited to share with everybody. A little bit further down, we have another new unit coming out, also recoded exclusive, called Lovey, which is a glowy variant, where from February 1st through February 27th or 8th, given if it's is it 28th or 29th? I forget, for like the leap year. All throughout February, we'll have Lovey as our seasonal slime member for celebrating Valentine's Day and such. So, very excited to share more of their unit art and details and stuff. Their arts are already complete. The sprites are already complete. Their kits are 95% complete. It's just really that other 5% is waiting to see how it actually plays out in game. But for the most part, we do have 2 recoded exclusives up and ready to go. And this entire checklist unit sheet will also be something that gets more revised and will soon be publicized as we go into 2026. And that is not a lot of yap. I know I just yapped a long time for that question alone, but now everybody knows. And again, just for clarification, if anybody does happen to be coming in late or has to bounce out, everything is currently being recorded, so it'll be up on the YouTube channel. That way you can go back and review the list yourself and see any characters that you may have missed, or see if your character that you're hoping will be included is on the list. Alright, Mr. Bear, next question.
Got 24 questions.
Oh boy, okay.
How has the team been? Catch a question from Shadowlock. How's the team been? And I can imagine the work is insane, but really hope everybody's taking care.
Yes, so the team has been doing great from what I've gathered from everybody's perspective. There's been, as mentioned before, we've had the loss of one of our coding members, and as I'm sure people have noticed, we've slowed down our development updates, going from initially monthly into a bi-monthly, and now we're here at a quarterly schedule. It's been a massive turnaround, I think, in just the overall comfortability in developing the project, because we're no longer trying to meet those monthly deadlines just for the sake of having something out there for the community, just for the sake of having something out there. So I think overall, team morale, super high. I think comfortability, super high. Our work ethic, of course, being a community-driven game could be a little bit improved here and there, but overall we're still making the updates come out on time and providing substantial amounts of new info for everybody. So I think we're doing pretty great so far. Joe Cab, if you want to speak on your side, how you feel about everything so far.
It really gives us time to take it easy, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a very hands-on development process. It ends off, I mean. As in, people work on what they want, usually. So, with that method, we can get to a point, we can get that extra bit of motivation, because working on something you don't necessarily want to work on is not necessarily motivating. So, working on something you want to work on, whenever you want to work on it, I think that helps in the creation process.
Absolutely. And something else to note too is that the pressure of trying to meet those deadlines, again, since that's now resolved, it's a lot easier just to take a step back and look at, okay, we have another 3 months to think about our next move. What should we focus on in that time period? And so far, we have updates scheduled throughout the rest of 2025, so anything new that we're cooking up during these next 6 months will all be for 2026 updates going forward. Next question.
Xenobits. I'm not sure what they're referencing, but they're saying, are you worried that this will mean people will hoard gems until getting to late game, potentially hampering the experience?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's not something I directly thought about as far as hoarding gems goes, because we still want the value of weight to be there for gems, like summoning units, expanding your inventory and such. I don't think it'll be something that's directly a bad thing with people hoarding units, with hoarding gems to get those newer units, because let's say, going back to our release list, let's say when we put out the alpha, we have all the characters from, let's say, Athena, Vampire, and Agni. Well, people may not be as interested in those heroes, so they'll stack up for the next month or 2 months until we have, say, Sergio and Lilith out available to them. Overall, they're still going to have to play through the RNG factor of, can I summon this unit with this amount of gems? And just gotta hope that RNGesus is there with you on that factor. So I don't think hoarding gems will be as problematic, because we do anticipate on giving the community a lot of gems. That way summoning is more accessible, since it won't be barred behind a credit card anymore. Going more onto the gems though, we're going to have things like the daily logins, first time clear bonuses, event bonuses, just general giveaways. Potentially thinking about, once we have, our foot in the door, maybe opening that up to potential creator codes or something like that. So the gems and possible summon tickets will be more than bountiful, but as far as being worried about people holding 1,000 gems for, let's say, the 6-star era, I don't think that our release schedule will kind of put a hamper on that to where, okay, I have 2,000 gems and then I can just buy the next meta right away. I'm kind of anticipating that with everything that we're doing, giving out gems and having these limiting factors like summoning potential, it won't be too big of an issue, because again, there's still the RNG factor that has to play into effect. Now, if we were doing unit buyouts to where, okay, say 100 gems and then you could buy Sheeta outright, then I would potentially be a little bit worried, because then yes, you could have 1,000 gems and then just buy the entire new squad outright. But again, since there's a summoning factor, and then also refilling your energy, refilling your arena orbs or raid orbs, or even just expanding your item or unit inventory, there's going to be a lot of factors there that I think will be a good soft mitigation to any potential issues like that.
Next question is from Balthazar again.
Okay.
Will we be able to evolve units beyond our summon power? So we got a 3-star unit, but we can still evolve it to 4-star unit before Maxwell.
Yes. So the only thing that is going to limit you on that is if you have the cost available in your squad. So let's say, just to make numbers easier for everybody, let's say your cost is at 50, right? And you have 5 3-star units that all cost 10. Well, if you evolve that next unit into a 4-star, and then one of them now costs 15, your total is now going to be at 55. So as long as your cost meets the requirements, you can have them in your team. And same thing goes for any event units, whether that's, again, a giveaway, a Vortex experience, a seasonal event, anything of that sort. So you'll have the potential of acquiring a 4, 5, or even 6-star hero before you've met that summoning potential requirement. But as long as you have the cost to fit them in your squad, then it will be allowed, essentially. Another factor to go into regarding cost is that we're going to be doing a massive rework on cost. So in the original game, your cost would go up to, I believe the number was 643, maybe a little bit wrong on that, somewhere in that range. I believe 643 was the max. In Recoded, the new max limit will now be 300 to equate for the factor of units costing up to 60, which is Omni level potential. So at the start of the game, players at level 1 will simply have a cost of 15, and then eventually, as we progress further and further down the level cycle, by the time you hit level 100 is where I'm guesstimating players will be facing Maxwell. So you'll still have the potential of having 3 4-star units in your squad, maybe even a 5-star, but there will no longer be the potential of having a full squad of 6-star units going in and facing Maxwell or any of the other fallen gods. That way, the story is kept in check in terms of the balance, as well as just the overall player progression, and feeling your own strength building up will be much more linear and not just a massive spike because this character can now fit in the squad cost of a new player game. So, and just for even more late game players as well, like say somebody comes in at like the 7-star or even Omni era, if we get to that point, a level 1 player will not be able to summon a 7-star or Omni unit because their cost will only be at 15. So they will have to at least get up to level 148 just to have the potential of having one Omni level unit in their squad. And the same thing goes with all the other numbers. If a 7-star unit costs, say, 45 or something, then okay, that player would need to at least get to level 112, something like that. And again, same thing. This sheet is also being just finalized and fine-tuned, making sure that all the numbers and details are correct. This is also something that will be coming in 2026.
crap. Next question is from Ecstasy. Ecstasy. Would it be possible to skip a summon gate, like never clearing a 4-star and going straight to 5-star?
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
Would it be possible to skip a summon gate, like never clearing a 4-star and going straight to 5 stars?
No, that would not be possible. In order to have 5-star potential, you will need to defeat the corresponding fallen god to have that ability. So again, if you want to summon 6-star potential, you will have to play through the story and defeat Zaval the Supreme to have that ability. And it goes even further as well. So if you want to unlock 7-star potential, you will need to beat Aphrodilith. If you want to summon Omni level characters, you will need to defeat the sealed god Lucius. And just as a little bit of an extra bit, just for more late game players, that way the underworld isn't just as much of a breeze, you will need to defeat the Holy Emperor Karnamasta to unlock Omni Plus enhancements. So if you, say, pull a unit that has an enhancement where it's 80% increase on all stats, you're not going to have that ability until you've completely finished the story. And more than likely, characters like that we're also going to adjust because, to be honest, a 100% stat boost on a character is kind of insane, especially when it only costs 10 points. So that's going to be a whole nother sheet and thing that we have to go and revise as we get further down the line. But I don't anticipate us even theory crafting on that until at least like post-beta or maybe even 1.0 stage.
Next question is from Duality. I'm not sure what they're referencing. You might have an idea.
Okay.
They're saying, so then it would be 4 stars at Maxwell, 5 stars at Cardes, 6 stars at Zavulua, 7 stars at Aphrodilith.
Yes, you can do that. You can do that. So the current idea is, again, you can go into Maxwell with a full squad of 3 stars, or you can go into it with a mix of 2, 3, and 4, but you'll never be able to, well, you won't directly be able to just go right into Maxwell with all 4-star characters, because again, you can have a 4, 5, or 6-star character that you obtain from a giveaway or a seasonal event and such, but it's purely just for the summoning factor. You won't be able to summon those rarities. Because the reason why is we don't want to exclude anybody regardless of their time playing the game, whether they play here and there daily or if they play, maybe bi-weekly, bi-monthly even. So when an event comes around, we want all players to have that opportunity to be able to participate in the event, as well as have the option to collect any of those rare materials or even rare heroes without saying, you can't participate because you didn't meet this requirement in the story. And going back to our cost factor, we'll allow the players to have those units, but it's up to the player to actually progress their own account level to be able to fit them in their squad. What I anticipate, though, for Maxwell is players going in with 3-star heroes for a full squad, and maybe if they do a lot of level grinding within Quest Vortex, just maybe they'll have a 4-star or 2, but I don't anticipate anybody having like a full team of 5 or 6 stars once they get to Maxwell.
Alright, next question is from Inky Nut. So gems are still going to be a currency used for summoning. How will the gems be obtained?
So gems will be obtained just like they were in the previous game in all the original fashions. So if you clear a dungeon for the first time, you'll get a gem. If you logged in for the day, so we'll have 2 separate things for that as well. So we're going to have 2 separate daily login systems. There'll be the daily login for the gem, which means every day, no matter what, if you broke your streak or not, you're always getting a gem simply just for logging in. Now, if you participate in any of the login campaign events or, your daily login potential, like you log in for 7 days in a week, you get an extra summon ticket or a gem, something like that, right? So I anticipate that with the daily gem login, that'll net players 365 gems throughout the year just from simply logging in. Like, you don't even have to play the game. You log in, you connect, boom, a gem is sent straight to your chest, and then you can redeem it whenever you want. Additionally, there's going to be the quest factors and events, so there'll be more gems being given out from that. There will be event giveaways or event dungeons that will also have additional, first-time dungeon clears for more gems. And potentially, like I said before, maybe like a creator code or two. That way you could get like an extra gem from, say, you type in creator code JoeCab or something, and then you get an extra 5 gems just because you found out about JoeCab and know his code, in a sense. Or any of like the developers, right? Like, you can punch in a developer name and then here's an extra gem just for, kind of figuring out like small Easter egg in a sense, right? So overall, I anticipate that will be the way I word this. A player that does not play actively, maybe like once a month or so, they'll somewhere net in between 200 to 300 gems, give or take on, it all comes down to playtime too, of course. A daily player will get 365 off rip. A more proactive player that, plays maybe a dungeon or two a day, goes through some story and events and, works on their account, between summon tickets and all that, I want to say that an average summoner experience would net at least 500 to 700 gems per year. And again, this is also including if we have all the additional login methods and such to earn those gems. While a more advanced player could very easily break 1,000 gems in 1 month. Or sorry, not 1 month, 1,000 gems in 1 year. Sorry. So, again, gems are going to be extremely bountiful. They're not going to be something that is gate kept purely for the fact of, we just have to make it hard to obtain. It's going to be ready and easily available for all players. 1,000 gems in a month, boy, that's the goal. Not in a month. Not in a month. I meant a year. I'm sorry. I twisted my words. 1,000 gems a year for a very proactive player, and somewhere around 500 gems for an average player.
The next question is from Some Stars. How does the team manage to remain motivated for such a large project and an extended period of time?
Honestly, easiest answer is it's you guys. You guys are what makes it fun to keep working on this at the end of the day, because when we go back and look at our statistics on the website or the comments, it really is motivating just to see not just how many people want to play Brave Frontier again, but how much Brave Frontier meant to so many people, whether that's, growing up through their childhoods or, their times in school, just their life experiences with the game, really. So I would say, like, I probably get a message on our website or an email maybe like once every couple weeks, just, kind of praising the team on their work and dedication to the game, and that in turn inspires us to want to keep pushing forward, because it really does have the same effect on you guys just as much it does on us, seeing, because you gotta remember, at the end of the day too, a lot of the people on the development team have also played Brave Frontier from day one to the day it shut down. So for me, for example, it hit me really hard as well. Like, it actually brought me to tears when the game shut down. So again, it's really just the community at the end of the day that's what keeps us pushing forward. So thank you guys so much for all your support and everything. It really does mean a lot to us.
Next question is from Bum's Eye. Hello, I'm new to following the project and super excited to see what y'all do. My question is if there is a public roadmap or a way to see what part of the project y'all are at.
So there's not a public roadmap as far as like where we're at directly, but we do have a roadmap on our website talking about what steps we're looking at to take before we can consider certain milestones are complete. So I'll drop the link here for everybody in the chat, that way they can visit it. Foundational milestone number 1 is what we're currently working on, and we're getting pretty close to finishing up here. I would say we'll probably be done this sometime within middle of 2026, like 100%, and then we'll be working on foundational milestone number 2, which will be things like login systems, account verifications, as well as many of like the other sub-menus like the Imperial Capital, Arena, Raid, stuff like that. We won't have Arena and Raid 100% because those are all going to be like online factors that we have to account for, but more so just having the ability to go into the menus, manage your squads, do some fusions, equip some spheres, stuff like that is what we're expecting for milestone number 2. And then Alpha, going down the list, is when we anticipate people having a truly fully playable experience of start to finish. You can go all the way through all of Mistral, work on your squads, fuse, evolve, make squads, sell units, sphere and item crafting, pretty much the core of Brave Frontier. And of course, as we get further down the line, more systems will come in place, more maps will come in place, more units will come in place, and same thing as we get closer to full release, we'll have more features like post-launch, like guilds, raid, Coliseum, Vortex Arena, Challenge Arena, Brave Frontier 2 content, additional localization, and maybe even some community events and releases as well.
The next question is from Dragon Hero.
Okay.
I could also ask, is it a possibility that when 5-star is available to get, when it comes to recoded game, what if getting 5 stars on server unlocks beta testing for future updates or something?
So the way it stands right now is just the more stars you have next to your profile. So if everybody peeks into the text channel of the event, you can see that, for example, Cross or Dragon has 4 stars next to their name. The more you talk in the server, the better chances you'll have in being a part of the alpha, beta. That way, it's fair from a standpoint of you're helping keep the community active and responsive and engaged. So as a reward, we'll try and let you in sooner. That way, you can also continue to keep experiencing it for other players. And then as we get more comfortable with our developments, it'll go down even further. So once we're more comfortable in our pre-alpha release, then we'll lower the requirement to where you may only need to have 3 stars to have access to the pre-alpha, or 2 stars, and so on. So the more you yap, the better chance you have for the betas and alphas and public test demos, to put it short.
Question from Jap. Is the game going to be supported in all regions, or is it going to be accessible in only one region?
So the game will be accessible in all regions. The reason why is that since we're not going to have any sort of restrictions like Steam or any sort of like main brand company like AAA studios and whatnot, there's really nothing limiting us as far as who can play and where they can play at. So as long as you can connect to the Recoded website, you'll be able to just log in and just play it from any browser source you choose of. Whether that's Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer. I know there's that one like gamer browser, I forget. Opera, yeah. So, as long as you have access to the internet and you have access to the Recoded website, you will have complete availability to play Recoded. As far as the localization side of things go, that is purely going to come down to the community and if we have the available members to make it to where we can support those languages. So for right now, it's only Spanish, French, Italian, and English. We are looking at a German team, or we do have a German team that has unfortunately fallen behind in our active members list. So that may be the only language for the time being that is kind of on the table for future updates, but so far English, Italian, French, and Spanish are going to be our starting languages for localization.
Question from TY, which I assume means thank you. Will you be publishing the list later?
I won't be publishing it anytime later this year because again, there's still more units that have to be added to the list or revisions that are needed to kind of guarantee what is going to be 100% in the pre-alpha. I would say this list is this list as well as all the other ones being shown today will more than likely be coming out part of 2026's update cycle.
All right. The next question is from Tiggs LAA. Do you guys need any help with FQA, which I assume means quality assurance?
So that's something that we'll also acquire just from our beta alpha testers. We're going to be very vocal with the community in terms of how does the game feel? Does any units feel too overpowered or too weak? So what we anticipate on doing is we're going to have a feedback tab in the game, and you'll be able to go through and directly input what unit is your concern. Do you feel like they should be buffed or nerfed? And any other, quality of life things like bug fixes or just ideas that you think may be valuable to Recoded in its future developments.
The question from TI, we already answered that one, I think. I've not been around here for that long, but how will you guys be making these units obtainable? As originally you'd farm gems, do summons, will it be the same?
Yes, so all of the units that are considered rare summons, like Falma and Cheetah and such, those will all be still locked behind the rare summon gates, but we will have a much larger expansion of heroes coming into the honor summon, like Angie, for example. That will, of course, require the honor points, so you get 10 points for bringing a friend, you collect 200 points, you can do an honor summon. As far as how much it costs to obtain a unit, we're sticking with the classic 5 gems because that's what it's always been, that's what it's going to stay as. It's, as pure to the game as possible. Now, once we get into the later stages of the game, once it's like 6, 7 star, or even Omni era, again, going back to having separate gates for separate evolutions, we may reduce it to where the 3 and 4 star summon gates only cost 3 gems, and the 5 and 6 star summon gates may only cost 4 gems. Other than that, though, for the start, everything will be 5 gems, and honor summon will stay at 200.
Alright, next question is from Albi, 199800. Will we get the bubble mechanic from European servers?
The bubble mechanic. Bubble mechanic, huh? I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on that. I do apologize. I'm a little unfamiliar with the bubble mechanic. The goal, though, for anything European, Japanese, or even the Korean ports of the game, we do anticipate having most of, if not all, features and units, and maybe even the items available. So I'll have to get back to you specifically on the bubble mechanic, because again, I'm not 100% sure about that. But for right now, I would like to say it's safe to assume it will be returning. But as far as what the actual properties of the bubble mechanic are, whether that's like more mitigation and such, will probably be under heavy supervision, just like mitigation or elemental defense, guarding, stuff like that. I do apologize because I was a global player for the entirety of the game. I played a little bit of the Japanese version for about a year, and then I played the European version for I think 4 or 5 months, so I may have left by the time the bubble mechanic became a part of it, but I'll definitely have to do more investigation onto that for sure.
Hey, next question is from FaZe. What about vortex units like the Keymaster? I'm not sure what they're referencing.
I'm gonna assume maybe that like means in terms of the obtainability. If you want to clarify on that question, we'd appreciate it. But just for initial answer, Keymaster Gilnia will be returning. He will be obtainable as well. Another sheet going into development right now is we're going to be having a yearly cycle coming into play, which the same thing will be introduced in 2026. So all the events in the game have been categorized and listed out as to when they're expected to be returning and for what time periods they'll be returning. It's still not certain as to when the exact dates are or how long they'll be in the vortex, but every previous event will be returning and will always be on a yearly cycle. So say, for example, the Battle Maidens, which will be featured in May. If you missed them that May of 2026, then in 2027 of May, you'll have the opportunity again to acquire them, and so on and so forth. 2028 May, they'll be back again. 2029 May, they'll return again, and so on and so forth for all dungeons.
Okay, another one from Inking Up. Are event characters going to make a return in the far future?
Yes, I would like event characters to return sooner than later. The only problem with some of the events is they had requirements that realistically needed 6, 7, or even Omnistar potential. So I think rather than trying to introduce them all at the start, we'll introduce them as the game develops with the rarities. So something that would require, let's say, what would be a good example here? The Omni Arcanum, probably a perfect example because that is for Omni units. Something like that we likely wouldn't reintroduce until we hit the 7-star era at the absolute earliest. Everything else, though, again, will be returning yearly cycle. If you miss it if you miss it that month, you'll have the opportunity again next year to get it.
Right, another one from Xenobits, I think. Will you be doing any balance changes to make some of the really bad summonable units better?
So there's a lot that's going to come into play when it comes to balancing heroes across the board, regardless of rarity. The main focus right now is for mitigation units, but we are going to look at units that were considered underperforming back in the day to see if we can have them all on a more even playing field. We still want to have some sort of meta in effect, of course, but we don't want it to be where it's like I must have this unit or else I can't complete this content. So let's say a dungeon pool that was restricted to only 30 viable units. We want to make it to where maybe has 100 viable units. That way there's more squad potential and just easier access for everybody. So even if the summon gates aren't on your side, okay, you already have some of the units that are possible to complete this content. And again, I don't really anticipate seeing that being a hard issue until we get into the 7-star era at the absolute earliest. But it's definitely something we're going to be under strict full watch of to make sure that nobody is too underpowered or too overpowered.
Okay, next question is from Jap again. Are gods going to be available for leveling up units, like metal gods, crystal gods, etc.?
No, currently they will be all remaining the same, so you'll acquire them at level 1 and they will stay at level 1. Because, again, their primary use is for fusion or evolution, so as silly as it may seem to have a squad of metal mimics that are all level 150, it's just not entirely as faithful as we would like to stick to. Maybe we'll have the potential to where you could put like imps on them or give them 2 spheres, but as far as increasing their level, that's more than likely never going to happen.
Next question from Bonsai. Is there any offline capabilities?
Yes, there is offline capability. For right now, it's just a offload from Godot and a couple other programs to make it towards an online experience. But as of right now, what you're seeing right here is an offline playable state from, I believe this was update 22. So this is something that will be a part of our public test demo, where it'll possibly be something you download and then run locally, and then as stream got minimized for you. And then as we get more and more developed, it will more than likely try strictly be online. That way we can keep things like player account data in progress and reduce the likelihood of any potential like cheats or stuff like that being made from people trying to like reverse engineer our code. Eventually, we would like it to be open source, to have the opportunity for people to get a little bit more creative with their dungeon experience.
Yeah, you minimize the application. You can't see your stream anymore.
Oh, I think that's because I was doing. What was I doing? Oh, wait, now it just wants me to only stream OBS. Why is it doing that? Oh, because I was capturing just the application, not the entire screen. Sorry.
I think Blue also mentioned wanting to make it so that people won't lose everything, even if there's another like shutdown. Like
yes.
If we can't support it, that everybody can just have the build.
So, I think that exact point too. We'll have all the save data stored locally as well. So in the event that Recoded does get shut down, people can download the source code for the game and then run it locally. That way, again, it's not entirely going to be online based like it was before. So while all the online features of the game may no longer be present, just the core staple of it, or the core gameplay of it, like doing the quest and potentially the yearly cycle, that should be possible to have in an offline format, since that will more or less just be based off of just the system clock. Those will all be accessible offline, but things like Arena, Raid, Guild Raid, Challenger and stuff like that requires an online accessibility won't be available offline, of course.
Alright, Xenobits for another question. Is it possible to have her in the game, but just call her something different in reference to Miku?
Oh, possibly. That could be something that gets like more diverted towards like a community creation, community project.
I think, speaking from experience, it doesn't really matter what a character is called. If they're too likely, like likeness of a character can be copyrighted, and can be like for example, like big companies will go to very, very big ends to keep their copyright, the copyright of a likeness. So I don't think having the Miku sprite and stuff, but calling her something else will fix that problem.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely wouldn't be like just a name swap either. Like we would definitely have to fully recreate like our own original like music group of units if we were to go that route. But there's a lot of like legality questions that are still into play with Miku, because some of it is open source, but some of it's also requiring a license, and it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment. So that's why Miku isn't off the table. Or sorry, that's why Miku's not on the table, but she's not completely off the table yet either. We still have to figure out the legalities about all that first.
Right. Next question from Geronimus that I think you have answered. Then we have guilds.
We do anticipate on having guilds. It's not something that we're expecting to have as like an alpha or beta feature, but it's something that at the bare minimum we would like to have the guild functionality available. That way players can participate in a guild where they're contributing their Zell or Karma or possibly even their gems going forward. That way things like getting Zell boost, Karma boost, XP boost will all be a little bit more available rather than something years down the line. And same thing, going back to guild raids and such, that likely won't happen even probably at 1.0. That's something that will probably happen like 2.0 if we get to that far. Guild raids is going to be extremely, extremely complicated, just as much as raids would be. Only factor with guilds is that rather than making a online platform that's accessible for 4 players, it would have to be accessible up to 20 plus players, and that's something that's going to be a massive, massive thing to try and overcome once we get to that point. And just to quickly answer Mino, because that's all he pinged me. It would be something like that, Mino, yes. a unit like Legato Blue Summers, but not Legato Blue Summers. So the example that we kept throwing around was like Dark Zell Knight from the European server. He would potentially be the new Legato Blue Summers.
Question from Robo Unicorn 678. Have you gotten anything back from the OG devs? Like, have we gotten rights to the game, or still able to be shut down at their say?
We haven't gotten anything directly on paper saying, we like what you guys are doing, like, keep going, or the opposite. Hey, you guys have to stop doing that. Like, you're hurting our image, or something of that nature. What I can say, however, is back in our previous discussion with one of the ex-developers, artist, Chia, she does have connections to those higher-ups of the previous global teams and Japanese teams as well. And from what I've gathered, they're not upset with what we're doing, because even the main developers themselves don't have access to Brave Frontier anymore, like we all know and love. So it's still on the table that they can shut us down at any moment, but at the same time, we're not scared, because we don't think that anything would realistically come out of it. Additionally, kind of as like a pseudo backup scenario, the reason why I have everything under my personal channel for right now is because in the event that there is a cease and desist order placed on the Recoded project, okay, everything Brave Frontier Recoded related will unfortunately have to be removed or deleted. But since I already have the entire community behind me on the channel, all it would take me to do is putting up a new video and saying, hey guys, Recoded is no longer being developed, but now the Heroes of Gaia is now our new project, and all of our work that we've been putting onto this will now be moved over into that project. So, while Gumi and Alim own the assets to Brave Frontier, they don't own the code that we have for Recoded. So, at the end, it would still be the same game, but it would just be different characters and heroes and stuff at the end. So, yes, it may take a lot more time to develop those new heroes and stuff, and recreate arts and whatnot, but ultimately, we don't see ourselves ever really losing this uphill battle.
I think that's a good point. If I can add on top of that,
Of course.
they do not own the code. It's a recode. It's a complete recode. The one thing that we didn't have that are the stats and the code. So in the event that we are being shut down, they can prevent us from using their assets, but the code is not their assets. So in the worst case scenario, the thing we end up doing is making our own game. And what that will unlock is being able to be crowdfunded, like everybody's asking. So it won't necessarily, it will be awful, but it won't necessarily be a bad thing in long term, I think.
Yeah, so either way,
it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, it's a win-win, temporary win/win, however you want to look at it. Like, I think for what we have covered so far, if they did shut us down at this point, they would more or less be shooting themselves in the foot, if I'm being honest, because yes, they do have all this other games that they're producing right now, like Brave Frontier Legion and Brave Frontier Versus, but at the same time, none of those games are exactly like Brave Frontier, which we're creating with Recoded. So they can shut us down, but ultimately I think for how far we are in our development and just our global outreach, because again, our website statistics have shown that over 40,000 people from across the world have just at the very least clicked on the Recoded website, let alone they see us for our social medias or our update videos on any of that sort. There's a lot of community response riding on this from both sides, so I think we're pretty in the clear for that part.
Another question from FaZe. How will evolution work with BB levels? Will all levels keep?
So just like the original Brave Frontier game, whatever your Brave Burst level was at before the evolution will be cut in half going into the next one, since that's part of the original formula. It was requested that from a good large amount of people, saying that it would be cool if I evolve my 5-star hero into a 6-star hero, since they're already at Brave Burst level 10, that means the 6-star should already have the super unlocked. Which, from a gameplay standpoint, from just being the player, I can understand the frustration in having to re-level up those Brave Burst levels to get the supers or the ultimates. But at the same time, with the direction Recoded is going in, we don't believe that'll be something that's ultimately going to be too much of a struggle to reobtain. So there will be a lot more Burst Frogs. The overall ease of getting more units to put into your characters, like the fodder units, to increase your Brave Burst level, will be just as easy as before. So putting in like 500 Bernies into Vargas or something like that, well, maybe not 500, let's say like 50, right? That'll get you up to like Brave Burst level 6 or 7, and then you may only have to use those 2-3 Burst Frogs to get yourself up to Super again. So it's an understandable critique, but at the same time, through the way that we're going to be producing the game, I don't see it being an issue in the long term.
Next question from Marwin. You plan to putting EU or global units in the game? Is the game browser only? Is the game browser only or apps browser?
It'll be game only browser.
I assume the game is on browser. That's like, it's not an app. It's not going to be an app.
Yeah, it won't be an app. You won't have to install anything additional. Again, you'll just have to log into the game through the Recoded website. So as long as you have access to the internet and you can connect to the website, you'll be able to play the game. And then what was the other part of that question?
Have you planned putting EU or global units?
Oh, yes. EU, Global, and Japan will all be returning, as well as Brave Frontier 2 characters. Everybody's going to be included in Recoded. This is going to be the true definitive version of Brave Frontier, is our goal.
Alright, another question from Inky Nut. What manner of support for servers will be there?
Manner of support for servers. So we're gonna have a backup server as well, just in the event of, again, like any sort of potential crashes or server burnouts or whatnot. That way the game will always be online, and even during our maintenance times, there won't be any hiccups between us uploading a new update or not being able to have the community just simply logging onto the website. So what we've been thinking about doing right now is we're going to have 3 different branches. We'll have the main branch, which is going to be the live server, and then we'll have 2 separate ones, which will be the PTR, the public test realm, for any future updates like adding a new map, new heroes, stuff like that. But then we're also going to have the backup server as well. So if something goes wrong on the PTR or the live server, there will always be the backup in effect, to where we can just upload that and then everything's back to how it would be in that last 24-hour, 48-hour period. So there's, of course, always going to be the possibility of the server crashes and maybe there's a potential loss of an hour or 2 of progress, which, of course, we're going to try to do everything we can to make that not be a possibility. But in the event of something like that tragically happening, all the player data will be saved. And additionally, since there will be the local saves, you guys will be able to just pretty much re-download your entire save whenever you want. So if a new update comes out and you're worried, like, hey, like, this is a big update, I'm a little bit worried that it might crash the game for a day or 2, you can download your own save copy and then submit it back to us. We'll reinstate your old save file and then you're back to normal.
Alright, another question from Inky Nut. Will there be some cool roguelike game mode where we can get the funny Omni Plus enhancements, enchantments as buffs?
A roguelike mode. I haven't thought of anything like that yet. I know there's a couple people that have discussed a roguelike possibility, but at this time I don't have much to comment on for that.
Alright, the next question is from Balthazar and Lewis. Will the devs add themselves as units to the game? That'd be pretty fun. And will Neily be a unit?
So, it's funny you say that. I currently do already have unit art made for myself. Let me see. Having the rest of the team, I think, would be really fun and exciting. The idea I have with this is there'd be a separate dungeon in the Vortex or the quest. It would be like a grand quest, and during that grand quest or dungeon experience, you would essentially challenge us as we're going through our development cycle. So as we get to the later stages of that, you would have to face me as the team leader, and then you would have to also face my entire squad, which would be Joe Cab, Blue Arc, any of the other coders or artist localization members. So having us all as obtainable units, I think, would be cool. As far as it being a priority in the game is, of course, like way later on down the line. Would it be cool and fun? Absolutely. But of course, I can't prioritize myself or the team first. So yes, I am a unit, but at the same time, I'm not going to be in the game or force myself into the game until I know that it's an appropriate time and I'm more than comfortable with where the game's at, both from a development standpoint and just a community standpoint. But for people asking about my character, this is Gate Guardian Neily. The whole idea with this is just Neily inside of Gilnea's outfit because I love Gilnea. He's quite literally my favorite unit of the game. And I made a sort of a ref sheet for him as far as like what his abilities and stuff would be. So as you can see, he has all the elemental cubes around him. So something would be like, if you activate the super ability, I'll give you all the elements into effect. I'll let you take less damage from all the elements. And as far as what my extra skill would be, if, you know, I'm like a 7-star or an Omni potential, the gem in my hand would be a consumable item, which is why I wouldn't be available until pretty much the end of the game or until you completely beat the game. So if you have me in your team and you die, I'll use the gem in my hand to revive the entire team for that fight. But it's a one-time use. So the normal art / sprite, I'll have the gem in my hand. The team falls. You know, you'll get the little prompt of, you know, do you want to quit out of the battle or revive? You'll do the revive. I'll play a little animation of me, like the gem throwing it up into the air or like rising into the air or some shit, and then the entire squad comes back and, you know, you have a free revive. So that's what my current mindset is as to like what my powers / abilities would be in game. But of course, for as strong and busted as that is, that's something that wouldn't be allowed until the very end of the game's development, just to keep it fair and balanced.
Another question from Dragon Hero. Will there be a gate to summon legacy units?
Yes, so we discussed previously on having separate gates available for 3-star, 4-star, 5, 6, and 7-star units. This isn't something that will be available initially during our alpha or beta. So more than likely, as we get to, say, the 6-star or 7-star rarity, that's when we would introduce something like a 3-star, 4-star limited summon gate to where it's only units of that rarity status. And to make things a little bit more fair, since it's not technically in, quote, meta anymore, it would cost less gems to pull from those summon gates. So let's just say we're at the end of the game's life cycle, like we're at Omni level content right now. Summon gates would cost 5 gems for 7-star or Omni level heroes. If you were to try and summon somebody that is 5 or 6 stars, it may only cost 4 gems. Or if you're trying to summon somebody that's only 3 or 4-star rarity, it may only cost 3 gems.
Alright, another question from Inkinut. In regards to a list, will we have a recorded wiki / info repository?
Yes, so this is something that we've already worked on briefly. I forget the exact update number coming to mind, but we have already worked on a built-in wiki on the game. So rather than having to have a whole separate website tab open, there would be a little button on the side to where it would pull up the wiki for you. Let's see if I can remember. Not this one. I think it might be 18. No. Let's see. Here we go, 17. So we'll have the main game available in the center. Of course, we're still going to keep everything in portrait. But at the top left, there will be a button that says Show Wiki. You'll be able to click that, and while you're playing the game, you'll be able to have the entire wiki on the side of your game. That way, if say, oh, how do I get this unit? How do I get this material? How do I do this? How do I do that? Everything will all be there right alongside you for the entire step of your journey.
Right, next question from Cloud. Will be there event only units? If so, they come back, or would they really they a really rare unit?
No, so I understand what you're saying. So no, going back to our yearly cycle, all of those characters would be on a yearly loop. So from January 1st would be when the loop starts. December 31st would be when the loop ends and then restarts. So if you have a character that, say, is a Halloween unit, like Pumburnki, for example, you won't have to worry about, or even better yet, Xenon and Astia, because I know people are very familiar with them as part of being like limited time / exclusive and such. You won't have the opportunity to get Xenon and Astia anytime throughout the year, just like with all the other seasonal units. You'll have to be playing during that season to acquire those units, but they won't be forever unobtainable. So there won't be any time gate exclusives. The opportunity to 100% your unit list and have all characters available will be present and recoded. So again, if you miss something in August, all you have to do is just wait until next August, and then you'll be able to participate again. Same thing with every other month and available. If it's a Valentine's Day event or unit, you won't be able to do that in, say, Christmas, because that's during all the Christmas events. You would have to wait until next February to do the February events, and so on. Which is another point to bring up as well, is going to be very beneficial for the new players, because when a new player started Brave Frontier in the later stages of the game, and they would go into the Vortex, they were presented with a massive, massive list of dungeons to do. And it gets to the point where, and I've seen a lot of other gacha games do this, where there's so much information or content available to the player that they just simply don't know where to start, or get overwhelmed by just how much content there is. So by doing this, we're going to add the value of seasonal events and units once more, but also remove the restrictiveness of limited time units never being able to be obtained again.
Next question from Ecstasy. This is meant for like Omni-era stuff. Do you plan to rebalance things like IUBB and 0BC, cost, team building?
Yes, we will be. The cost is already being reworked. Cost will now be capped at 300 points, rather than it being 643 like it was originally. Just for additional clarity for you, JoCab. So, IUBB and 0BC was pretty much you could just spam activate your ultimate abilities or your Bravers or Supers with like no other regards. So you could just keep going endlessly, and what would be like, you know, you activate your 6 supers at once, you could do like 72 in one turn. Like, it was absolutely crazy. Again, it's very hard to say right now because we're focusing more on the early stage of the game, but in regards to our initial inputs on infinite UBB and 0 BC, we may have an increased BC cost just to make it more in scale with the higher power potential. But as far as an infinite UBB goes, we won't have that accessible anymore because technically it was a bug, it was a glitch, it was never intended to happen to begin with, but it just, like many other things in Brave Frontier, bugs got added and then stuck around for 6 months or just never got addressed, which we don't want to be the case with Recoded. So our temporal solution for that right now will be the more you activate your Brave Burst, like after a set threshold, so say, you do your extra action, you have your recast, after you activate it like for the 3rd or 4th time, it'll start have diminishing returns to where, sure, you can keep activating it as many times as you want, but it's only going to have the main damage of it when it activates the first 2 or 3 times. So it'll still be, the infinite side of it won't be accessible, but as far as just the overall, use a Brave Burst, have your extra action, do a recast, do another action, stuff like that, you'll still have that insane power experience from playing as an Omni level characters, but it won't be to the point where you can just go into the dungeon, have 0 BC on all your units, and then just insta-wipe the game because you just keep using infinite Brave Burst. We still want there to be some sort of level of, like, technicality when playing the game, because we don't want it to be where it's just you press the auto button and then that's it. We do not want that to be the case anymore. The auto button is mainly for farming dungeons or something that is easy to do without needing much attention. Something like that, we want to where you have to be at least attentive and focusing on what moves you're prioritizing. I do need just
questions from Cloud.
I do need just 1 second. I gotta let my cat out. I do apologize.
Right. We have 4 questions left. Great. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it.
Good, buddy.
Wish I could answer questions, but I'm not really very qualified when it comes to game mechanics. More qualified about the technicalities, I think.
Yes, I do have a cat, Balthazar. His name is Bubba. He's my little void creature.
Next question is from Cloud. Is there by the way a chance that we can make fan-made sprites / images, reworks, and can make them maybe in the game?
Yes, so there's a lot of custom units that are already being thrown around by the community at the moment, and of course, the only requirement that would be asked is that, of course, we have the author's permission and that we have essentially accessible rights to having those characters in the game, more or less. So, and the other factor as well is making sure that everything is under strict quality control. So, for example, we wouldn't want to allow somebody that just made a stick figure and say like, oh, well, can I add my character into the game? No, you can't. Sorry. Like, it has to be up to the Brave Frontier levels of quality.
It actually happened before a couple of times, unfortunately.
So, we definitely want to open that potential and allow people to express their, creative side on characters that they think are cool or their own art styles and stuff like that. But again, if it meets the Brave Frontier level of quality control, then we can progress into talking about it further, whether that's you just want your unit to be a one-off edition, or maybe have it be part of like a creator's batch, or even have their own event dungeon and stuff like that. And then of course that would somehow be cycled into the whole yearly cycle with events and reruns and such.
Our next question from Shadow Slayer. Well, it's not a question, but it's something I think you could comment on. I'm curious if the Summoner's Choice tickets will be kept. I know every now and then OG Brave Frontier would give you a choice of any unit to pick from to celebrate New Year's and the such, which would help players get their favorites.
Yes, so something like that would more than likely be exclusively reserved just for Anniversary, just because of how powerful of an item it is. As far as it being something that's like a more regular occurring thing, highly unlikely, because again, we are going to have players having such a bountiful amount of gems and summon tickets to begin with that having more than one select a hero ticket would, I don't want to say outright ruin the RNG factor, but it wouldn't make it nearly as replayable, I suppose would be the correct way to term that.
Next question. It's not another question again. It's another comment from Shadow Slayer. Just please don't make it to where we have to obtain multiple of the same units to evolve them. It's part of the main reason I love the upgrading system, i.e. 3 Vargas to get him to 4-star.
Yeah, no, that will never happen. I can assure you that. All the evolution formulas that you see now more or less are going to stick the same, with the exception of, like I said, maybe the fire, or like for Vargas, maybe, and again, this is just as an example, I'm not saying that it's going to be a guarantee, but maybe going from 6 to 7-star Vargas, rather than having him take 3 fire idols, it would be like 2 fire idols and 1 fire bulb in that sense. So you'll never outright require the unit again to evolve them to the next star rarity, but you'll still have the option of, if you have multiple of that unit when they're in Omni stage, you can fuse them together to get another Omni level enhancement from +1, +2, +3, just like it was before. Or if you don't want to do that and just say you want to have 5 Vargases all, Omni +3, then you can collect the elemental tomes and the Ignis shards and just completely do that free of unit cost.
Another one from Balthazar. Could you include team buffs? Like if you have 2 or more of the 6 heroes on your team, you will get gradual stat buffs.
Ooh, kind of like a Marvel Rivals team up kind of system, huh? That's something that could be looked into, but that would more so be something that is also a thought after 1.0, because again, we want to make sure that the authentic version of Brave Frontier is present first before we start introducing any new gameplay changes or accessibilities that might kind of defer away from the faithfulness of the game. So I'll have to keep that in mind. That's a pretty cool idea.
We got one last question. I think we've answered it. It's from Luma. When it comes to power creep, will all characters be viable to have on a team, or will just some shine out and be hard meta?
So the goal is, of course, and 5 years later on down the line, this might bite me in the ass, of course. The goal is, for right now, to have everybody be on the same playing field. But of course, there is going to be some characters, like ones that have extra action or recast, that are simply just better than, say, a healer that doesn't have the potential to do that. So I'm not saying that there's not going to be certain units that are more viable than others, but in the grand scheme of things, we want it to be where, yes, you'll have a much larger array of characters to choose from that can complete said dungeon or said content, regardless of the overall power scaling within that rarity. Now, I do want to specify on that point, though, this does not mean that if a dungeon is meant for, say, 7-star or Omni-level characters, that it'll be accessible and completable by 4 or 5-star rarity heroes, because they just simply don't meet that power scaling requirement yet. But as far as the power scaling all within each of their own rarities, yes, the goal is to have everybody be on an equal playing field as much as possible.
That's all the questions. I just remembered there's also another thing in the next update that I've been working on.
There is another thing you've been working on. It's very, very cool.
I literally forgot.
That's what I was saying. I don't
forgot about it.
I don't want to share too much because of what else you've been cooking up, but
Yeah, it's a little big side project. Not audio related, which is kind of crazy.
I think
I hope you'll like it.
I think a little tease we can maybe share is that this is something that Jokav's been working on alongside with one of our artists that were brought onto the team purely for this little side project. So and it came out super good. So we're extremely excited to be able to share it with everybody, and hopefully the response is very well received.
This will affect every other update after. Well, every update video.
Yes.
I hope you'll like that. You'll understand. You will understand once you see it.
All right. We've been almost for 2 hours now. Wow. So something that I did want to mention to everybody here, of course, I know the big question on everybody's mind right now is, of course, when can we play the game? I'm seeing you playing it right now. This looks good enough to play, so why can't I play it? Well, a lot of factors. One being, again, there's no real accounts to have your data saved. There's no sub-menus or options to summon characters or anything like that. But there is the potential to have a dungeon play out as long as you want. So this is kind of a tease for the next update and the update at the end of the year, talking about our playtest possibilities, which I'll go further into that once the time comes. But the current mindset right now is that what you see now is what you could be playing within the next, I want to say maybe 1.5 or 2 years, because theoretically the raw gameplay of it, just playing through the dungeon, is available. It's almost 100% done. Of course, we still gotta fine-tune some things, but we're not at the point to where we can say, hey, it's a pre-alpha or anything like that. So there's more potentially coming out to where you could play a very extended dungeon experience coming forward. And to go along with that, we may have some additional things that will let the player customize their dungeon experience as well. So going back to the whole offline potential state, we may have an offline demo for the start, but then once we get more into the online factor, like web accounts and stuff like that, then it will be reserved for an online experience only. And additionally, going back to our Google Sheets for a minute, the next update to come out after our audio adaptation will be the recovery reduction, which will feature a lot more than just recovery specifically. So, just for a little bit of a tease, we will have some characters that ultimately, pretty much every character across the board is going to be receiving a massive reduction to their recovery. This is something that Kaz or Sneeko has been helping me out with for a long while. Still have a lot more to go, 'cause a lot of numbers had to be punched in, but for short, recovery is going to be getting slashed massively, so healers are going to have a massive overall improvement in terms of the squad building. So there will no longer be I can just keep attacking hard enough to get all my health back. You may actually need a healer or a dedicated healer role in your team going forward. And another thing, finally leave that off with, and again, more will be discussed with the recovery update, is we're going to be talking about spheres and stuff as well. Some spheres will be added, some spheres will be removed, some may be getting reworked or just not even be available in the game anymore because of collaboration requirements. So that's all I have to tease for the rest of the year coming forward. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to share with you guys as well. Again, a lot more I would like to share and discuss, but if I shared and discuss it all now and then upload it in the video in the next day or two, then come the actual time to discuss it for the next milestone updates, like in September or December, then there wouldn't be too much more to really talk or go off of. So just know that we are cooking a lot behind the scenes here for you guys. A lot of good stuff. So we hope that you guys are really excited and are very eager for your responses for everything as well. Alrighty.
If there's going to be another Q&A in the future.
Another Q&A in the future, huh? So the last one was very well received. It seems like this one also very well received. It seemed like a lot of people were really excited for it. Got a lot of members coming in asking questions. I was thinking of potentially maybe making this like a monthly thing or bi-monthly, just like in between our updates, so that way there's a little bit more of a community engagement going on. We should absolutely do another Q&A. I don't know when that will be exactly, but I think probably after our next update, we can begin looking into one for maybe July or August even. But maybe that's something I'd make a poll on and try to like gauge community interest to see if maybe doing monthly Q&As would be of interest. And it doesn't even have to be as big or eventful as like this one was. It can just be simply us talking for 30 minutes or an hour, just, you know, like it was initially like, hey, how are you doing? Like, you know, how's everybody been? You know, the occasional question of Brave Frontier here and there. But yeah, we can definitely look into that for you guys come next update. But for right now, I want to try and have all attention be focused on the audio adaptation update, since it is going to be an update hosted entirely by JoeCab. And I want to make sure that everybody is there for that, because, again, Chef Cab has already cooked a buffet for you guys, but then the dessert, oh my god, the dessert is going to be delicious, let me tell you.
It took a long time.
Long time.
What I did took a long ass time. It's really for real. But
if anybody's got any final questions to get out, we got about another like 3-5 minutes. Other than that, that pretty much wraps it up for me on my end. JoeCab, do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, not really, unless somebody wants to ask anything. Yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm not really competent, or I don't have the expertise to talk about the game mechanics because I've never played the game. JoeCab, you've never played the game. You've missed peak. You haven't played peak.
JoeCab, you missed on wheeling your wallet out.
But I have experience for the technicalities and how, especially when it comes to audio. How many people are you guys going to try to include for the testing?
For right now, the goal is I would like to have at least 100 people able to play test it. Some of them being more community figures as well as potential collaborators in the future. Of course, we're still going to honor, you know, if you're a high star rarity in the server, we'll give you kind of like a first dibs access into being able to experience the public test demo. So again, just keep on yapping, and chances are you'll have a better opportunity to experience our first public test demo. That, again, can't confirm a date or anything, but from what I would like to hope expectation-wise would be sometime within 2026 or early 2027. Are you doing okay mentally? Yes, I'm doing okay mentally, Bard. We're doing A-okay over here.
Doing alright mentally.
You're not?
No, but like I'm doing alright mentally. I can't wait for the people to see the update. I think that'd be very nice. An update nobody expected and nobody would know had to happen, but it had to happen.
I
Like when
think,
when I got the sound effects and stuff, I immediately was like, oh man, this needs fixing.
yeah. I think another small tease for this is I think like we've already gone through a bunch of steps in making Recoded like officially ours, but I think with what we're going to show you guys come next update is going to like even more solidify that like 100%. So super excited for everybody's response to it. But yeah, it is 7 o'clock. I do have to go ahead and get ready to head out for dinner and such. I do greatly appreciate everybody that came in for the Q&A. I hope you all had a great time. I know we answered a lot of questions. There was a lot of lore and details that were dropped. So again, if you happen to be coming in late or you came in halfway through, everything has been recorded and will be shortly uploaded to the YouTube channel within a day or two, give or take. So with all that said and done, thank you again, everybody, for stopping in, and I hope you all have a great rest of your days / nights, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Def me. I'll see y'all later.